Brian, and welcome to BattlefieldResumes.com Leadership Podcast, where my twin brother Bruce and I are committed to building better leaders. From webcasts to webinars, podcasts to personal services, one-on-one coaching to online opportunities, remember, the key to success begins with building the leader in you. As part of the John Maxwell team, we want to live out the principles that John teaches. This is our rule of 5 that we seek to practice every day. To lead, to grow, to create, to excel, and to serve. Please visit us at BattlefieldResumes.com. And remember, make today count.
All right, this is Bruce Benedict with Battlefield Resumes. My brother Brian is on the line as well. We've got Adam Udvig on the line tonight. Adam spent 20 years in DoD Intel, and most recently as a deputy and instructor for the Counterintelligence and Cyberspace at the Joint Counterintelligence Training Activity in Washington, D.C. He has a SIGINT, CI, and HUMINT collector background, specializing in Russian and Arabic language. He currently serves as a subject matter expert for the deep and dark web and as director of RDT&E, Research, Development, Testing, and Evaluation, where he leads the effort to identify cutting-edge technologies and new capabilities for White Canvas Group and its clients. Well, hi. Can you say hi to everybody, Adam?
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Bruce, thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, great. We really appreciate you coming on board and talking to us today, because we know that you're definitely going to help a lot of vets out. And if anyone has a question as we go through tonight, all you have to do is call 929-477-4063. That's 929-477-4063, and we'll put you online, and you can ask any question you want to Adam tonight. Now, Adam, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you, what your decisions were when you first went into the military, from a civilian? Let's go all the way back to that point in time.
Oh, man, okay, we're going back a little bit. All right. So, way back in the day. Way back in the day. So back in 97 is when I first went into the Corps. I went in at 25, so I didn't go in at the same time right out of high school. I had some college coming out of high school, and worked a number of jobs. I was working, actually at one point, I was working 2 full-time jobs to support my family. And then just found my way to the military because I always had this feeling that I wanted to serve. I put myself through a police academy to try to make myself a little bit more competitive. But this was at the tail end of the first Iraq War, so a lot of folks were coming back out of the military, and they were all going into the police force. They were all going into the fire departments, and it was difficult for people to try to get a job in those departments. So some of the advice that I got, they said, "Well, look, why don't you join the military and get some experience in the military? With that military experience and your test scores, you should be able to get onto a department that you want." So I decided to go take a look at some of the different options that I had out there. I actually went to the Air Force first, and they took a look at my scores, and they said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't care. I want to do something fun." So I was looking at PJs. And I said, but bottom line, I wanted to get a language, because if I was going to go into the military, I wanted to have something that I was going to be able to use once I got out. I wanted to have a skill. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is that the Air Force told me, no, you can't take your family to the language school. Now, those of us who have been to DLI know categorically that's not true. So I'm pretty sure it was just
Absolutely.
the guy, the recruiter was just trying to make quota on something else and was trying to push me in something else. But because I was, like I said, I was 25 at the time, I just walked out and I said, okay, well, if I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to get it. I had learned already at that point that if you know what you want, you go into a situation, into any kind of situation, business or otherwise. You know exactly what you want. If it's not going the way that you want it, then no skin off your teeth. Just get up and walk out, which is exactly what I did. The next, I actually went to the Navy, and the petty officer. This was between jobs, by the way. So I had already worked a full 8 hours. It was noon coming in, wanted to do, to take a little bit of time to talk to him about maybe doing Naval Reserve. Petty officer was in there, and he was in his whites, and he was chowing down on a hamburger. And I'll never forget this. Like all of the ketchup and mustard and relish, it all kind of squirted out once he, bit down, went all over his whites.
Oh, no.
He's kind of like cleaning himself off, and he's like, yeah, come back after lunch. So obviously I didn't have a whole lot of time. I was between two full-time jobs. I was upset. So I walked out of there, cussing, screaming, and the Marine was walking up. He said, whoa, slow your roll. What's going on? Oh, that fat blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, the Marine just kind of grinned at me and nodded, and he said, yeah, come on inside, let's talk. So that's actually how I got in, and that's how the recruiter got me. I sat down, showed him my scores, said, look, whatever it is that you've got, I want a language, period. And he said, okay, well, we've got this cryptologic linguist thing, and you got the scores for it. What do you say? I said, well, am I going to get a language? And he said, yes. I said, what language? And he said, well, you're not going to find out until you get in. You got to get through boot camp first. So that was it. Signed it, joined up, went in, and the rest is history. 5 years later, and we have 2001, 9/11 kicks off, and I am on the tail end of my first contract, and for those of us who were in during 9/11, everything stopped. We were in immediate wartime footing, and all of the re-ups, all of the bureaucratic stuff that was going through got pushed to the side. That also happened to be like my re-up that I was putting in, and I was trying to put in again. I got Russian in those 5 years. I went to school to learn Russian. So I was trying to re-up again for Russian cryptolinguist, and it had turned out that there was a MAR admin that had been put out saying that MOS was going to be done away with because we didn't need that many Russian linguists anymore, which meant that I missed my window for re-upping. They said, well, either you got to get another language or you got to get out. Well, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I looked to some other MOSs that were available, and one of those other MOSs was 0211, which was Counterintelligence Human Specialist. So I went, and I had already kind of knocked around with those guys in the past. I knew what the boarding process was. So I just went in, boarded, and got in, and wound up going to the schoolhouse in Virginia Beach, and began the rest of my 13 years in the Corps right there with CI Human as an 0211.
So you spent 13 years in the Corps, but you didn't come in until you were 25.
Yeah, that's correct. I was a delayed entry and then some.
Yeah. So did you find that the college helped, prior to entering the Marine Corps?
I would say that the maturity helped. The life experience helped. I'm not sure that I would say that the college helped. Quite honestly, college was kind of wasted on me. if I had gone to college after, let's say, going through the Marine Corps or delayed, I know that I would have taken it more seriously. So the life experience definitely helped out, because you could see the difference when you go into the military with a little bit of life expectancy or life experience beneath your belt. You can see the way that people approach boot camp. It's less terror. It's more calculated, and it's more of that mission. You have a goal, and you're going to hit that goal, and you're going to make that goal. At least in my experience, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to be getting life experience out of college, of course, college is always going to help as you transition into the military. You do have a little bit of some, I would say, problems when you come in, because quite frankly, some of your drill instructors are going to be younger than you, possibly.
Right.
If you delay that, and you learn very quickly that age has absolutely nothing to do with the military, and it's everything what you earn, right? And so that can be difficult for some. There were some guys that did have quite a bit of difficulty having somebody who was younger than them screaming at them, breaking them down, and building them back up the military way. And quite frankly, later on with different ranks, you've got lance corporals that are more mature than some of the sergeants because of that age, because of the life experience.
Right.
But as you start moving through those ranks, then obviously that kind of filters its way through, and military does a really good job of being able to get everybody in line where they need to be.
So Adam, when you entered, you said you had a plan and you wanted to obtain a language, but having been 25 and already have gone to college, worked different types of positions, and I went to the police force. What was your long-term goal at that point? What was the military going to help you accomplish?
Well, the language was the skill that I wanted out of it, but quite frankly, the military, I knew that the Marine Corps was going to be the greatest challenge that I was going to come up against in my young life, and if I got through that, then no one could take that away from me. I would know exactly who I am, and no matter what life threw at me, I knew that I was going to be able to get through it. I've spoken to many people in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and everybody came to that same realization. It's part of the wonderful thing about boot camp. So I knew going into boot camp that challenge, that crucible, that change, that challenge was going to define me and change me, and I was going to have that coming out. I was going to have that confidence. I had the confidence before I went in, but I didn't know it. It had never really been challenged outside of making sure that you've got food for your family, making sure that you scrimp and you save, and you give everything to your family, and they're first, and you are second. I mean, that in and of itself is a challenge to overcome. But there was always something that I had inside me that I needed that extra challenge, and I wanted to hit it. Some people, I guess, some people will go skydiving, some people will climb a mountain, some people, they do other things. Just getting into the Marine Corps, going through it, becoming Marine, and serving, especially serving overseas. Combat, that was going to be the defining crucible that I needed. And on the back end, I just want to make sure that I had a skill coming out of there, and that language was going to be that skill. I didn't know outside of going into the military very specifically for the ability to do the cryptologic linguist job along with that Russian language. I didn't know what I wanted to do outside of that, other than the fact that I would be able to take that and go into police departments in place.
Yeah.
The second re-up was when I made up my mind that I wanted to stay in and do something unique. That was when I decided that no, I didn't want to go into the police department anymore. I wanted to do some other things. So the 0211 field gave me that challenge, and I knew that I was going to get a heck of a lot of other skills out of there. And I just also happened to pick up Arabic when I was there as well. So different MOS that did have a language allocation. So I was able to get 2 languages out of the Marine Corps before I got out.
Wow. So what was the decision making process for you to get out of the Marine Corps, and how, what were some of the hurdles that you encountered that many of the vets listening today are encountering themselves? How did you prepare for that and that transition?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I probably would have stayed in for the full 20. I had been selected for warrant, a young warrant, and because of we were gone constantly, and our unit, we had 90+% divorce rate in our unit because we were gone so much. So my marriage ultimately failed within that troubled time. I would have stayed in had I not had the family problems that I had. My ex wanted to use my kids against me, and said that, okay, if you're going to be a warrant officer, you're going to be serving, you're going back over, you're going to be going to Afghanistan a number of times. Therefore, I'm going to go for full custody. So I actually made the decision to give up my commission and to get out of the Marine Corps so that I could focus on my kids in the civilian world. Awesome. I had no idea what I was going to do outside of the Marine Corps. All I knew was that my kids were the number one priority, and I just knew that I was gonna land on my 2 feet. No matter where I went, I was gonna find something.
What was your timeline? What was your timeline at that point?
It was about 14 to 16 months before my end point. Was when I was looking at actually, going to Wobic and becoming a warrant officer for the Marine Corps for CI Human. So when I gave up my commission, I was put over to the 3 shop. They wanted to start doing some experimenting with putting some quality people specifically in the training shop, so we could kind of change the way that we had been doing things for a long time. And this is not a surprise to people who have been in. Specifically, the 3 shop is usually where they dump a lot of problem people, especially for the enlisted. When I went in there, it was I took it as a punishment, but I used it as an opportunity to do something really, really good. So I identified some problems. I identified a lot of different ways that we could do things. As a senior gunny, I was able to get a lot done, and actually turn that billet in the 3 shop into something that became a regular rotational aspect to put senior enlisted into positions of leadership and specifically management at a high level. And it actually helped out the battalion as far as the training goes. So, bottom line, it's you can hear a continuous theme. Every new situation that either I put myself into or I found myself, I always found different ways to be able to go in, dominate, change for the good, and become better with skills on the outside. It's always about, becoming better, about bettering yourself, bettering everybody else that's around you, making it more than just about you, right? Excuse me.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with the 3 Shop, and then based on the good job that I did, I applied for a position where I was going to be working as a collector for DIA, and I did that for a little bit to great success, and that was my Twilight tour.
Okay.
So during that time that I was doing the collector work, I was also trying to prep myself for the ultimate, exiting the Marine Corps. With that time, we had like the TAMPS program, the exit program, where they take you through.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So part of that is an exit interview, and the Marine that did my exit interview really didn't know me very well, and decided to challenge me by saying that I was going to fail out in the real world.
Right.
Well, I took that on as a challenge. I saw red. It was probably definitely not a good thing for him to say. But I took it as a challenge and said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to succeed. And you're going to see why you made a mistake in saying that. So I had a good 6 months of preparing to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just getting a drink of water here.
No, that's fine.
So those 6 months were pretty chaotic because I was trying to find a job, and I was in San Diego at the time, and there really wasn't a whole lot that was going on. People weren't hiring. A lot of the companies didn't want to talk to me because I was still 6 months into the Marine Corps. They didn't want to talk to me until I was out.
And that adds to the stress there, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because you know that you've got kids that you need to take care of. You've got payments that you have to make, and there's financial responsibilities that you got to take upon yourself. Quite frankly, I know that there were a lot of folks, a lot of guys that were in the same position that just stayed in the Marine Corps because they didn't want to risk, defaulting on what they needed to pay as far as like child support, alimony, etc.
Right.
So it came down to the wire, Bruce. It really did. I got my final job offer about 2 weeks before I got out.
That's stressful.
So, yeah, it's extraordinarily stressful. Now, it was not in San Diego. It was over on the East Coast, and so that meant that not only was I getting out because I wanted to spend time with my kids, but the only job that I was able to find in that time was clear across the country. So I had to make that decision. Do I get out and see my kids during summertime? Or do I stay in and roll the dice to see what's going to happen? Now, I had already burned bridges with the Marine Corps because I had volunteered I'd given up my commission. And, for those of us in the military, we know exactly what that means, especially with, the warrant commission. If you give that up, that means you're giving up a spot that somebody else could have filled, and we desperately needed warrants within the CI human community. So it was a move that was not well received by many higher ups. So I was burning bridges when I was doing it, and again, the reason why I was doing it was for my kids.
Yeah, it's a great reason.
So I got out with, my bundle of convictions. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I need to do, and I know why I'm doing it. And even though I'm leaving my kids, this is for the best because I'm going to be able to give them a better life. they will be able to see more of me. And that's what I did. So I moved out to the East Coast and arranged to have the kids, on the holidays and then in the summertime. And I wound up working back in the schoolhouse, the same schoolhouse that I went to for CI Human. So I went to New Mitzi, and I was part of a pilot program where they're creating a brand new secondary MLS, for the lack of a better description, where we were training non-collectors how to do basic communication skills in getting information. So basically teaching grunts how to ask questions of local people. A lot of people laugh when you say that, but the tactical debriefer course, which is what it was called, was kind of revolutionary because it had never been a formalized course of instruction ever. You would think that it would be, or you'd think that you would be
absolutely
teaching your infantry, the people who are face to face with everybody who's doing all of those, the patrols and doing leadership engagement. You would think that they would understand how to interact, but it just was never there. So it was a pretty cool thing that I was able to be part of. And I got to do that for a little bit until a different job offer came along, and a little academy called JCETA was looking for some counterintelligence instructors, and so I put in my resume and got a call back, and the call back was to come up and interview. And the interview, quite frankly, was pretty quick, and I got in. I found out later because of my reputation within the Marine Corps.
Well, that's great.
They made a few calls, and because of my reputation, that was enough for me to get inside the door with, my resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a number of years. Went from Elkridge down to Quantico, and within Quantico, became a head teacher for a lot of the courses, the counterintelligence courses down there. Then was asked to become the deputy for the counterintelligence and cyber portion for what we teach or what we taught at JCETA, and I jumped on that like a good Marine jumps on a grenade. I jumped all over it.
There you go.
And I took that opportunity. It was, and I can't stress this enough. I was 40 years old, and I had the opportunity to keep doing what I had always done, or embrace something that was brand new, that was cutting edge, for the DoD. And then just kind of run with it and be able to help shape current ops and current understandings of methodologies, along with policies, in accordance with good laws, to be able to do this thing that we were teaching as CI within cyber. And it was brand new, and it was exciting. So if there's one thing that I really, really want to be able to extend out to everybody who's listening, is this. We are no longer in a world where we can do the 9-to-5 job for 30 years, and then at the end we get our gold watch, we get a pension, we punch the clock, and we get out. We're that's rapidly declining. In the civilian sector, that's all but gone. In the military, while I was in, I watched it change from, it used to be that when you got out at 20, you would have a much higher percentage than what you would get when you got out at 30. And we've watched that change as we were in service. Now we're starting to hear, because of the cost of maintained life, because we're living longer than we've ever had before. The cost of all of those pensions, military pensions, are getting to the point where the government can't pay or doesn't want to pay for it anymore. It's going to be hard to hear, but I really believe that at some point those pensions are what we're getting paid for at 20 now is probably going to get pushed out to 30. And I really don't know that there will ever be a case where you're going to be able to get that 100% outside of having full disability. It just seems the way that's the way that the pensions seem to be going. And I don't want this to be doom and gloom, and it's not.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that you have an opportunity as an 18-year-old going in, doing your 20 years, getting out at 38. You have the opportunity, the training, the skill, the desire, and the ability to completely change your outlook on life, and then embrace a brand new job, a brand new career. And the realities out there are that our kids, and I've told this to my kids, you should expect to have 2, if not 3 careers in your lifetime, and not to be afraid of that. You need to embrace it, because with automation, with AI, with a lot of the robotics that are going to be making things easier for manufacturing, there's a lot of those old jobs that are just going to be going away. And we need to be able to change to be able to fit into that new world.
Adam, one of the things that you were saying was it's interesting because a lot of veterans, and I think all of us at one point were the same, and we all kind of, our goal in life was always to hit that 20-year mark. And so, the initial milestone was the 10-year mark. If I cross the 10-year mark, then I might as well stay for 20. And so that's kind of a decision line, right? And a decision point. So I'll get out before 10, or if I stay in after 10. Now you stayed in after 10, but then you got out before retirement, which is a very, very difficult decision when you're in the military. But a lot of people, when they cross over that 10-year mark, especially when they hit the 20-year retirement, they want to depart the military and either do something fun, is what I hear all the time, or kind of just take a break. And the challenge is, most of the time, I would say not all the time, but let's just be conservative and say 75% of the time, if you're going to do a job that's fun and that you're just going to take a break in, you're not going to make the same money as you think you are worth.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. The time you spent in the military, the energy you used in the service is the same time and energy you need to put forth in your civilian job. Do you see that?
Yeah. And the benefit, though, is that because it's not foreign to you, it really makes a difference in the civilian world, because you can see it. It's a marked difference. And it's the bearing, it's the work ethic, it's the mission first mentality. It is the camaraderie, it is the leadership, it is the management skills, it is the communication skills, cutting through fog of war. In moments of crisis, these are the people that you want to have right there with you. And in many ways, there are a lot of parallels that the military veteran in transition will be able to identify within the civilian world. And I would also say, along with what you said, some people just want to relax. Every single person that I know that relaxed after 20 years found another job within a year, because they were going absolutely crazy with boredom. They needed to get out there. They needed to do something. There are plenty of folks, myself included, who have hobby careers, that's on the side, just to keep ourselves busy. And, quite frankly, once we do retire, we want to set ourselves up with something that is a business that we own, we run. It's
well,
something
and your hobby,
that,
wasn't it? Wasn't your hobby something that kind of transitioned you into what you're doing now?
Yeah, a little bit. So I was always looking at new tech. I was always looking at what people were using. The communication methodologies, dark web. Just kind of seeing how people were using the new tech in innovative ways, and just kind of tracking that. And so, yeah, that naturally drove me towards, being able to use all of those skills that I had through, 13 years of experience in the Marine Corps, 6 years working with DIA in different support methodologies. And I was able to say, okay, I enjoy this. I know I enjoy this. Let me find a job that's going to be kind of everything that I'm looking for, that's going to help me find a place that is going to be chaotic, because I like that chaos. I don't want to have the same day every single day. I don't want to walk into a factory. I don't want to punch a card. I don't want to do the same manual labor over and over and over again. I like the challenge of having a different day every day. I like the energy and the live or die kind of feel of a startup. Everything is lean, everything is fast. Every decision that you make, every action that you take is absolutely pivotal for that company. And the company lives or dies by the team. And that is very, very, very close to what small team military feels like.
Yeah. So, with you saying that, let's talk a little bit about your company. Because there's a lot of people out there right now who are very interested in the cybersecurity field. It's a mission that's bigger than them. They can be part of the next, let's just call it what it is, the next war, right? It's the cyber war. And, for a lot of us, it's in our blood. It's exciting. We want to be part of it. And there's a lot of people out there, when you say cybersecurity, who say, well, that's this field that I'm not part of. Well, I believe it's a wide range of fields, for one. But can you just describe, your company right now that you're working with, and what you guys are looking for as far as the positions? What's open and what's out there?
Well, okay. So about our company, White Canvas Group, we are a cybersecurity company that provides our customers solutions with being able to use publicly available information to their unique mission sets. Now, I know that sounds really, really vague, but the publicly available information is immense. When we're talking about publicly available information, we're talking about any information that you can get by hooking up to your laptop, going into Starbucks, and reaching out to the web and touching data. That's exactly what we're talking. That's publicly available information. The vast amount of information out there has value, and it has value for different people for different mission sets. We will teach our clients how to use our methodologies to be able to get that information for their specific missions. Now, we're talking about government, we're talking about federal, we're talking DoD, we're talking public sector, universities, banks, law firms, you name it. The internet is as big, and it's as big as it is because everybody recognizes exactly the value for it. free access to information, and information is power, knowledge. Being able to leverage that for your specific mission set. So if you start looking at the wide possibilities of what you possibly can teach within such a huge range of options, you begin to see why we're pretty busy. We are hiring. We are hiring folks that, like I was describing earlier, we need people who can stand in front of others and teach. We need to be able to have them communicate to others in large groups, large meaning anywhere from 12 to 20 people, to communicate complex ideas to very simple methodologies to be able to tie into their individual mission sets. That does not necessarily mean that you need to be a computer science expert. You do not need to have that computer science degree. If you have the mission set knowledge, if you have a lot of those intangibles that I was discussing earlier, the drive to succeed, the feeling of being in a small team environment, the startup feel, being able to take and relish the fact that your own initiative is going to be helping drive that company forward. And there will be nobody behind you saying, hey, you need to do this, hey, you need to do this. You have a blank and wide open space in front of you, and you know what your mission is, and you are grabbing that, and you are running, and you're going for it. And while you're going, you're helping to build the company through capability. That kind of excitement, that kind of startup mentality, that kind of small team, tactical and strategic mind is exactly what we're looking for.
When you talk about the drive, you're looking for people with drive, startup feel, initiative, excitement. How do you assess that when you see a resume? I mean, really, the only way that they have the ability to show you is if they get the chance to talk to you. And so, a lot of vets, it's very frustrating because there's no feedback when they apply and things like that. If I could just, most of them say, if I could just talk to the person. So what's the secret for you guys, and what's your advice to those who are like, man, he is describing me to a T. That is me. How do I get in, right? How do I get the contact? How do I break down that barrier so I can actually show them who I really am?
Yep. Well, so the number one thing is, yes, you've got your resume. There's 100 different people telling you that your resume should be this, your resume should not be this. That cover letters are good, the cover letters aren't bad. It's all dependent on the people who are screening and the company. So White Canvas Group, for example, we actually like cover letters. We want cover letters back. Cover letters give the prospective hire to be able to, in their own words, paint a picture of them. And it's telling what they put on the cover page, okay? And oftentimes it comes down to a feel. We've got a wide range of people. It's not just military. We've also got career civilians who are in the team, and we can feel the people who have that drive, that it. Right, that's the first step in just kind of taking that cover page, the cover letter, and the resume, and just kind of feeling it out. Some of the examples that I've seen that did not impress. Too little information, right? There's some folks will say, okay, your resume only needs to be a page. With the folks that we're looking for people who have had some life experience and have had different experiences and also have some technical skills. Let's find out what that is. We're also looking for people who can communicate well. So all of that needs to be shown within glimpses of that within your resume and then your cover page. The fast and easy answer is it's tough, and it's always going to be tough. You should be writing each and every single resume for each job that you are putting in for. If you are currently unemployed, or if you're still in the military and you're looking to be employed, be prepared to put out a lot of different resumes. Be prepared to work your butt off to be able to get those resumes tailored to the job, and also understand and thicken up that skin, and understanding that every single job that you put in for, you're not going to be right for. And there's a reason for that, that we can't all be everything. And those people that are looking to fill those jobs are looking for very specific people. It's kind of like actors. You got a bunch of actors. Thousands of actors go and they perform, and they try out and they do their audition, and only one can be chosen. That doesn't mean that the rest of those thousands are worthless, right? They just weren't right for that one part. And a lot of times, that's exactly what our veterans are looking to do when they go out into the workforce. They believe that, okay, because of all of this cool stuff that I've done, and all of these great capabilities that I bring to the table, they should be throwing these jobs at me. And quite frankly, it is a difficult thing to get into your head, because that rejection hurts. You know how good you are. You know what how valuable you are, right? So, if it's going to be individually catered to the company, you need to do a little bit of recon. You need to be able to figure out what position they're looking for and exactly what it is that they want for that position. You need to be creative in finding that information out. When I found the job up at JCETA, I made some calls and talked to some folks that I knew that had taught and gone to JCETA as students to find out what type of people they needed. Now, I did that because I wanted to know whether or not I was a good fit. It wasn't so that I was trying to fit myself into that peg or that hole, right? I was trying to see if I made the mold of what it is that they were looking for. If you can do that good enough, you're going to find a job quickly, because you're going to see exactly where you fit in for a very specific position. So, for example, if any of what I've just been talking about for positions that are open right now as instructors for conducting cyber advanced support operations and teaching that class and that methodology to a disparate client base, and that energy and the description that I gave about what the team is like, what the company is like, if that resonates with you, then that should be the thing that you are writing to, because that's what the people are going to be looking for. But you also need to be honest with yourself. If you're just looking for a job to get a job, you're doing yourself and you're doing the business a disservice. You need to be very honest about what it is that you're trying to do. Because the business is, it's trying to make money. It's a business, and it's driving forward. And it's going to be choosing the best people that it can. So do your due diligence to figure out where you can fit in the best way that you can. So when we're, there's a bunch of different pieces of advice that I can give people as to figuring out exactly what they want to do, the steps that they need to take internally to figure out what makes them happy. What is it that really gets them going? And the best quick answer I can give them is, what are those things that make the hair on your arms stand up when you get really excited? When if you're doing something, a job that just even talking about it gets you going. and figure out what it is that's helping that do it. Is it the team? Is it being part of a team? That togetherness driving towards one mission? If so, then that is a huge thing that you can bring to any team that you're trying to take part in. Always magnify your strengths, and don't overplay them, but have that strong, quiet strength about yourself and about who you are and what you know about yourself. Special forces, silent professionals, right? Quiet professionals. They're quiet professionals for a reason. Why? Because they're good, and they know they're good. They don't have to prove squat to anyone, right? Quiet professionalism with discipline and with intensity shows whenever you sit in front of somebody. Showing where you are eager to excel is very important. If a screener is looking at you and you are interviewing and you're answering a bunch of different questions, depending on what company, the questions may be canned. They're looking for specific answers. They want to see how you sweat. They want to see yada, yada, yada. There's 1,000 different ways to interview, and you're going to go through 1,000 different ways of being interviewed. So what is the one thing that you can always hold on to that is going to maintain true plumb? And that is you, your knowledge of you, your expression of you. That is the thing that needs to be straight and true always. And if you keep that and you experience that, you take that and grow that out, you're going to be able to find yourself in those positions where you are best served. You are best fit. Don't try to be anybody else. Be you, and understand that sometimes you're not going to fit into that job because you don't fit into that job. And it doesn't make you bad, and it doesn't make you any worse. It just means that you need to keep looking. And the harsh reality is that, it's difficult. I was very lucky. I jumped out of a plane with, half my parachute packed, and, my parachute opened, and I was able to steer, to a good landing zone, and I was able to, pack everything up. I got myself set up, and then I had another opportunity, and that's the next thing that I want to be able to extend to everybody. Listen to opportunity, because opportunity will knock. Opportunity is always there. You just need to be able to take advantage of it. In a combat environment, we understand what opportunity is. Anybody that's been through a firefight understands exactly what their instincts will help them and how it helped them. And there are always those that that if you hadn't acted on that instinct, then bad things might have happened, right? Opportunity, once you're out of the military, opportunity in life presents itself much in the same way. You need to hone that instinct so that you can see when opportunity comes and make those command decisions for your life, your family's life, a lot of different ways to be able to help you be the best you outside of the military. You are not the airman. You are not the Marine. The Marines are better for you because of who you are. You're not better because of the title. And when you get out into the real world, and you quote unquote lose that title, you never lose what you've created. You never lose what you've earned. That's inside you. But you still need to understand that the you that's always been there is the thing that you need to pin all of your successes on and moving forward.
It's interesting that, you, after the whole discussion tonight, we're talking about the different opportunities that you kind of jumped into, right? And with a half parachute. But, a lot of people would look at you and they would say, man, he's lucky. He's got a green thumb, something, right? Every time he jumps out of a plane, his parachute opens. He's lucky. But it's interesting, and one of the things that John Maxwell had talked about on one of the leadership sessions that we had was, it's funny when people say how lucky another person is, because it often is directly related to how hard that person worked. It's funny how much luckier you get the harder you work. And with you, the description that you've given us this hour is that no matter where you were, what job you were in, you worked your butt off. Even if it was in a job which you or the Corps or whoever deemed below everybody. That's a bad place to work. That's where we're going to push everybody to. You know what? If it's painting rocks, then they're going to be the best rocks in the world. But whatever it was, you did the best you could. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And what's interesting is out of all of that time and effort that you put in, it's always paid off. And I think a lot of people need to realize that too, because it definitely does help. It's momentum. You build your own momentum. And, here in the last couple minutes, I got just two questions for you. One is, what have you seen that you would recommend not doing because it didn't bode well for the applicant, let's say, right? And you have a lot of people that are about, let's say, 6 months out from applying for a job. How would they prepare? What's the best advice you can give them to prepare?
Okay, so some things not to do when you're in interview mode. Don't complain about your place, even if it's the most horrible place that you've ever worked. Don't complain about how you can't wait to get out of there because of this. We want to be able to hear about how you've suffered and you've been able to overcome, right? So there's no place that's perfect. Tell us how you made things better. How did you take a bad situation and make it better? How are you going to be an end result plus if you come onto the team? Always show the positives. I mean, this is what you bring, but also do it in like that humble professional way that I'm talking about. As far as some of the other don'ts, don't skimp on information when it comes to the resume, but also don't take too long with that resume. If there's anybody that's out there right now that's looking to if let's say that they want to put in their resume with White Canvas Group, just put down your experience. Let us know exactly what your technical experience is, and why you want to get into a company that is teaching people how to use publicly available information. What is it that's passion? What are your passions, right? That's what you want to do. Don't talk about how the company will be able to augment you. I've had a number of different folks that have put in their resumes or, hey, I know this would make me a much better, prospect. There's a bunch of different people that want to try to do a little bit of time before they join, some other agencies, 3-letter agencies, stuff like that. No, just be honest about what you want and show how you can be an added benefit to the group.
Like to know about it. And remember, most of all, make today count.